You're now listening to DND Live on Demand. What up, world? Welcome back to Season 2 of Breaking Command, a DND Football Podcast. Of course, you got your man with the plan. It's your man, DH. And as always, my partner in crime, my brother from another, D-Mitty. D-Mitty, what's up, bro?
Man, how you feeling, man? Feeling good, feeling great. How are you, King?
Hey, man, I'm awesome. I'm glad to be back in the mix for another season of Breaking Command. Last season was great. Definitely make sure y'all go back, check it out, run those numbers up. Of course, make sure you like, subscribe, and share with a friend. And if you feel so inclined to leave us a 5-star review, you can get your 5 seconds of fame. That's it. That's all. Of course, we appreciate y'all, man, still tuning in and checking us out, man, running the numbers up. We really love it. But we had to come back and get season 2 started a little bit early because it's been a little bit going on in this off season. I really don't know about it. So I think we need to talk about it and see what's going on this off season, D-Mitty. So it's a perfect time to get season 2 started right before training camp opens, right before preseason, right before the regular season. We're going to get the ball rolling again, man. You ready?
Hey, man, it just seems like this season here, man, is going to be one for the books.
It definitely is, man. It definitely is. And to break in season 2, right? I was thinking to myself, I said, how should we break in season 2? How should we usher in this new season of Breaking Command Football, the D&D Football Podcast? I said, how about we bring back our number one guest from last year? And this person will still be our number one guest. I guess until JP comes back on, but he will still be our number one guest.
I was thinking that.
Of course, I said, man, let's bring our guy in the mix, Mike Callow of ESPN 630. Mike Callow, welcome back. What's up, bro? How you feeling?
D&D, what is going on, guys? Always happy to be with you guys.
Hey,
man, it's a pleasure.
We're glad you're here with us, man. Things are looking up for you, man. Things are going up with this show, man. We just glad you can give us a couple minutes, man. Come hang out and talk with you.
Of course, anytime.
Yeah, man, awesome. So let's get into it. I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off. So apparently the Commanders got a new owner.
Oh my God.
I was under a rock for a few months. So I don't know what was going on, but Josh Harris and 16 other members of his ownership group are now owners of the Commanders when the sale just went through last Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, where the league owners voted to allow Josh Harris to purchase the team. The local native, the 76ers and New Jersey Devils owner is now majority owner.
Also, he was a minority owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers too.
There we go. But, we hate the Steelers here too. No, I'm joking. But we welcome in a new ownership group, Josh Harris, along with Mitchell Rails and Irvin Magic Johnson.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to get to that too, man, because Magic is having the time of his life, bro. You would think he's never owned anything before. He's one of the best businessmen ever. You would think he never owned anything, from a house to a movie theater. But Magic is having a good time. But Josh Harris is now the new owner of the Commanders. We're going to start with our guest. We're going to let Mike Bat lead off. Mike, tell us your first initial thoughts to the sale finally being completed and the Commanders having a new owner.
All right, so first off was thank God, because I think, our age, you think you're stuck with Dan for life. So it's like minor miracle that we even have a new owner, especially with, people our age. Two, I'll use one word to describe that opening press conference, and I felt like it was authentic. And I was talking to you about this before we went on. You had two specific instances with Harris and with Rails of them specifically saying how they went to RFK. Rails was saying that, he'd walk down East Capitol Street towards RFK, the sights, the sounds, whatever. And you had Rails say, literally, I would get on the bus on Friendship Heights to go to games. Right away, I'm like, all right, these guys know what it means. They know how important it's going to be. They know how much this is more of like a public trust than them owning. Of course, they're going to profit off of it, but they realize what this is about to be in terms of how hard it's going to be. And when you had Harris up there going, I'm stressed and I'm not sleeping because I realize how important it is, all you can say as a fan is like, thank God, right? Like, oh, you're not going to be on your yacht for the next 7 years and not make a single damn decision except for drafting Dwayne Haskins. You know, like, it finally feels like there's going to be just competent ownership. And I got the vibe, guys, that they're not going to sue the fans or try to prevent people from walking to the stadium or not have shuttle buses from the metro or hopefully don't sexually assault their employees allegedly or whatever we went on. Like, you know, like, I just got all the vibes that none of that stuff should be happening. And I was just like, okay, the circus is out of town finally. And then, as you guys mentioned too, Magic Johnson. I mean, he kind of stole the show. And he's going to be like the public face, I think, because I've already heard Harris doesn't like to talk. Rails, I don't think, does a lot either. But Magic clearly loves having the mic, clearly likes getting emotional. I'm perfectly fine with that. And especially in a city like DC, having a black owner like that's going to work wonders for repairing, the trust to the fan base.
No, absolutely, absolutely. D Mitty, man, what was your initial thoughts about the new ownership and everything going on, man?
It was like a breath of fresh air because it was crazy how it all happened on the day of my daughter's 11th birthday, and I'm out. I knew it was coming on the 20th. I'm like, oh man, thank you. She tell me, hey, she appreciates it, but it was just all that kind of like. I'm already celebrating one thing, and then this is happening at the same time. And to hear what Magic said, and to see Josh Harris and Mitchell Rails and their faces, like I'm big on like public perception and getting the actual the first, I guess you could say, first impression of someone by face-to-face encounter. And it just felt good to see those guys talk about the organization and the fans the way that they did. And honestly, Mike really hit out the park with a lot of things that they said. And on top of all that, Magic Johnson having companies and businesses in that area, in the DC area, he's already kind of tied to the area. So he's going to be that face that's going to tie the organization to the fans. And it's a wonderful time and as a fan of the Washington Commanders.
And to echo what you guys have both said, great hands, right? And I think that's kind of been where the misstep has been, that as fans, we didn't feel as though the team was in good hands under Dan's management, right? Of course, winning cures a lot of that, but when you don't win, everything else sucks and everything else is highlighted and amplified. So that's why, a leaky pipe, you know what I'm saying, it is going to get a lot of attention. The rails coming down on almost hurting Jalen Hurts, like,
right. Oh my God.
Now, granted, it would still get some attention, if we did win, but it's just gonna get we're gonna get piled on a whole lot worse with Dan there. And I know, Mike, of course, you being in the national media, you kind of have the pulse of what's going on around the league and what some of these national talking heads are saying. And I know that you've noticed that it's been kind of lighter. Commanders have been mentioned a little better, in a better light since the idea that Dan was going to be gone. I feel like a lot of those biases that some of those reporters had, which I don't know how you can have biases as a reporter and call yourself a reporter, but that's journalism, and we'll get to that another time. But like those biases that some people have been having, I feel like they've kind of been lifted, and they're talking about us as a reasonable team, and we're not getting piled on. So I'm curious to know what you think about that, if you've seen that difference recently.
Oh, I mean, I think the national media side of things, when I started to lose my mind, and I'm sure you heard this too, what was it, like 2 months ago, maybe post-draft, where all of a sudden for like maybe 3 or 4 days there, it was like, oh, Washington's going with Sam Howell. Like, who the hell is he? And it was very much like, wait a minute. That guy was a first-round grade going into the season, and they got him in the 5th round. The franchise a late round pick that actually won a game at the end of the season last year. And that's when I was kind of like, this is really weird how kind of like on a slow news day, they became the punching bag. And then literally last week, you have someone like Mina Kimes come out with a full breakdown of why Sam Howell had a great game that last game against the Cowboys. And I'm like, oh, wow, you guys know who he is now. Like, that's funny. Like, and all of a sudden you have like Dan Orlovsky tweeting about how, oh, he could be a sleeper of a good quarterback. They just score a few more points. Like the enemy, it's like, you guys know all the puzzle pieces were there before the ownership change, right? But like, I totally get it. you hear McLaurin and Allen talking about how the vibe is completely changed now. And so if the players are talking like that, it now means the media is going to start talking like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a little ridiculous, but at the same time, it's hard to say they're wrong, right? Because anytime something started to go right with this franchise, Dan would do something to screw it up. So, like, yes, it pisses me off. But at the same time, the track record was there of why would you think it would work out? So I get it. It goes both ways, but I was very much like, oh, okay. They know we're getting a new owner. So all of a sudden, we are just like all the other teams in the league, essentially.
I'm curious in those league circles, because we only know what we know, right? I'm curious in those league circles how bad or how much Dan was not like. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we only know what we know, but I'm curious in those circles, like, how bad was he hated? Like, how much did they want to get rid of him? How much, you know what I mean? Like, how much did they just not like having him in the mix? And you know, that ownership group, that's a special club. And that ownership group is ran by a couple select owners that kind of got the whole pulse of the ownership group. So if you don't have a good relationship with those guys, with the Jerry Jones, which he had a semi-good relationship with Jerry Jones, probably because Jerry Jones got some of the same skeletons, but I digress. But you know, if you're not tight with Jerry Jones, the Bob Crafts, the Arthur Blanks, you know, so those guys,
the Rooney's, Mars,
you know, guys that are, you know, top level, that's kind of the movers and the shakers of the league, like, you're not in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he's probably done some things to piss them off to make them not want to be on the same side. You know what I mean? I'm
to that same
they were to get him out of there.
But to that same effect, the way Jim Irsay is putting himself in a position of being a mouthpiece, it almost seems like he's in that I guess that Illuminati of owners, because he puts himself in the position with the tweets and the bulletin board things, and it just seems like, to me, the snowball began with the name, with the name of the name change, right after Ron took over the team, and how the hiring of Jason Wright and Julie Donaldson and the exiting of all those other execs, to me, that was the writings on the wall for me that, Dan, your time is coming up soon.
I mean, I would just add one more thing onto that essentially these guys didn't care what Dan did because the checks are clearing. Washington was a punching bag for the rest of the league. So why would you, if everyone's making, like, rev share, I think last year was like $350 million. Every team got that.
Every team,
right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I always make fun of people that say, "Oh, well, my money, I'm not gonna spend any money on the team." You know, that goes to everybody, right? Not just the franchise. So you are like 0.00001% of whatever is going to affect their bottom line. Like, you literally do not matter. Like, you would need millions of fans to stop watching, essentially. And granted, they know he was running the team into the ground, but they also know it's one team. Everyone gets a win against them every single year. As soon as they start to get good, he meddles and screws up anyways. If I was another owner, I'd want to keep him in the circle too. The unwritten rule with Dan, like off the record, like I would say like off the record, like I'm reporting something. But like one of the thought processes behind Dan was always, well, this guy makes so much noise off the field, he deflects it from all of us if something happens.
Yep.
So for me, it was always keep Dan around. He's going to be the one that trips over his shoelaces and everyone points and laughs at him and doesn't look at what Irsay does on a, random Saturday night with, not getting in a car or getting in a car while he's under the influence, like I always thought Dan was just a punching bag and they're like, we got to keep one guy around. Let's keep him around.
I promise you that I think the Robert Kraft thing where he got he essentially that episode of Fresh Prince where he was getting a massage and they busted in on him. You remember when they went to, it was Thanksgiving and they went to the special massage place and they busted on. Like I literally I didn't hear about that for too long. Like,
yeah,
it was done, completed. He went to court or did whatever he had to do and it was done. And if you ask anybody today, people wouldn't even mention that. But Dan, everything that Dan has done has came to the forefront. And it's kind of like,
what's the difference though? What's the difference between Kraft and Dan?
About 4 or 5 more Super Bowls.
Try 6, 7. I mean, double it. Like no one cares.
Yeah,
he did that crap during a playoff run. Don't forget that. He took a plane down there, went to Orchids of Asia was the name of the place, by the way, and then got caught. And then flew to Kansas City to go play the Chiefs. Like,
talk about taking a load off. Hey,
oh,
hey, season 2 is back. Season 2 is in effect. But no, I said all that to say, like, you know, the people don't even mention that. People forgot. I literally just remember talking about it just now. You know what I'm saying? And
Exactly. Me too.
the squeaky wheel has been putting himself in the mix and just everything. And then on top of that, right? Like, people have been piling on this week, rightfully so. Okay. But let me tell you what. I'm sorry. If I have $6 billion, like, you can say whatever you want about me. I don't. But some of the things that were happening, right? You know, and I think and Jason Wright kind of gets lumped in this too. Like, to start blaming certain things, the Sean Taylor thing, and like I'm like, I just feel like because we haven't won, everything
It's on the table.
Everything is on the table. Everything is an issue. And I think, and this is what we've been saying, winning cures all. You know what I'm saying? Nobody talks about the Chiefs' name because the Chiefs have been winning.
It's almost as if it's just like a whisper, and they are under the microscope because of the name, but because they're that Hunt family is such of they're in the upper echelon. They're not going to be like ridiculed at all. They've been winning. They won 2 out of the last 4 Super Bowls. So
and you also got to be able to, and I ain't mean to cut you off, D-Man, but you also got to be able to have the people in place that can finesse these situations for you, right? You're only as a high level exec CEO, you're only as good as your PR department, as your marketing team, as the people that's going to represent you and the people that's supposed to put you in these places. Because, I may be able to market myself, but if I got a team of 5 people that can market me better than what I know, that's only going to work out for me. And in the league, you're like, that's what you got to have. And like, you got to have the great machine behind you to push you. And then if you suck, if you're not a people person, if nobody want to support you, you can have anybody you want. And it's not going to matter because, you know what I mean? They're not going to care about you as much as they could.
And that's the left foot. Oh, go ahead, Mike. You got it.
I was going to say, on that note of just PR real quick, tell me something worse Dan did for his entire ownership. His PR was literally the worst thing about the team. It wasn't that, like, when they messed up, he would apologize or make it right. It would be a bombastic statement about how we're never changing the name, or I'm never selling, or like suing fans. Like, you would think a person that could surround themselves with a good PR person would go, Dan, you probably shouldn't sue these fans. In fact, maybe you let their contract slip a little bit. So you do something nice for them because it pays for itself. Like, I point to a microcosm of who Dan was and the PR bullshit with him was when they played the Cowboys, that first game in Texas Stadium or AT&T Stadium, and that fucking picture came out because it pisses me off so much of him, Tanya, Jerry, and Jason Wright, and they do this rivalry renewed bullshit, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I cannot believe you are.
I'm still reliving it as you say it. Like,
I remember seeing that tweet and like, I don't get pissed off easily. Like, I'm pretty even keel. I stay calm. Like, it's hard to just irk me. But like when I saw that, I was like just filled with rage. I'm like, how dare you, in the same place that, like, you had Tom Landry and George Allen almost come to blows over the rivalry. You guys are all buddy. Like, no,
come on,
no, man. Like that was a microcosm of everything wrong with the Dan Snyder era. That they thought they were so right on everything they did on some of that stuff, and they come out with that. And it's like, no, you totally missed the mark. In fact, you couldn't have missed the mark any more than you did.
And then that was the only time you would see him.
Yep,
that's it.
That too.
That's what I was going to. That's exactly what I was going to do. You basically took the words out of my mouth. Outside of what Mike said, everything else was non-existent. He was the guy that was literally in the shadows, and you never knew what he was doing until it became public, and it was horrible. And to me, when you have a Jason Wright now at the top at the top working with these owners, with Magic Johnson and these guys, I can sense that those guys are so happy to take this organization in a new direction with bringing the fans back, with rebuilding or making FedEx bump again, as some would say, with getting that fixed up with I guess I don't know if this is on the top of the food chain with new ownership, but with possibly getting RFK back or a new stadium anywhere, that new stadium is going to bring fans back. And I hate to say it, I love Ron as a person, but maybe when another thing on that agenda is new coach or rebuilding that coaching team. And I mean, I think once they get that stuff in order, because I'm pretty sure these things are on the bucket list for them. But once these things start to appear, oh man, I mean, it's going to bring some of these old fans back, because I know a guy right now. He was waiting for one of these things to happen. That was Dan and Ron. And once Ron is gone, he's back. It's crazy.
Man, let me say this, D-Mitty. Before we get into possible other changes that could be made with the franchise, I just want to remind everybody to make sure that you like, subscribe, and always share this with a friend. And make sure you following Mike Callow. And when you're up, in the afternoon, and you can listen to him and Bram, check them out, okay? And tweet them and let them know that you're listening to the show, man. Because Mike is a good dude. He always comes on and supports us, and he has great content, man. So make sure you're following ESPN 630 and my guy Mike Callow. So make sure you check them out. Before we get into any additional changes, I just want to highlight my guy, who I didn't know I liked as much as I do now, but I call him, man. I have like so many memes of him in my phone with the hee. Like I got all like or I don't think I'm gonna be like, are you Magic, are you gonna be a general? No, I don't think I'm gonna be the lead. like let's get into Magic Johnson and just the pure joy and jubilation that we've seen from Magic Johnson, whether it's the Craig Melvin interview, the galvanizing speech that he made to the staff and the staff workers, the getting up on the podium and just being electric and being able to control the room. I mean, let's talk about Magic Johnson, man. Like,
the first thing that stuck out to me, though, bro, it was the story about the Jack Kent Cook sale of the team. That him being a part of that, and I was meant to be his statement. I'm getting chills again, and I got chills when he said it, because once again, I'm all about that personal experience of things when it comes to sports, especially. And to hear how he was elated to be a part of a ownership group, as not only as a minority, but not only as somebody who's tied to this community already with his businesses, but not only with that, tied to this organization from the previous ownership before the owners he's proceeding. So it just makes it's all a culmination of this organization and this fandom of us going into another direction. And I feel like, the league is put on notice, man, because of this ownership, the way that we are excited as a fan base, if it bleeds onto the field, oh my gosh, if it's any inkling of how excited we are as fans, I mean, we're going from an 8-1 to possibly looking at a 10-7, a 10-17.
Mike, what were your thoughts on Magic Johnson and how he took over the past few days, man?
So I got two for you, and the first one is, as my friend and you guys know, Rick Doc Walker, he screams, "I want winners," right? All the time. Well, that's Magic, man. Like, literally everything he touches turns to gold. Like, they win. And he said that, right, out loud. He was like, I wouldn't want to buy this franchise or, help buy this franchise unless I thought we could win, right? And so that's the first thing I point to, is he said all of the right things with, he kind of did the opposite of what Dan would do, where Dan would lean into, this is an old marquee franchise. We've won 3 Super Bowls. He'd wheel the Lombardis out after every coach that he would hire. They finally just kind of simplified things and said, we need to win and we need to talk about the fan experience. But with Magic, it was like, I've done this before. You can trust me. Like, he was kind of doing it like, follow me into battle and you won't regret it, essentially. I think he kind of said that, right? Didn't he say, stick with me? Yeah. And then second thing, I mean, you get up there and dance to go-go. Like, I'm good. Like, we're all right. Like, I put it on my Instagram on Friday. I was like, this is a fever dream. Like, if you would have shown this to me 20 years ago, what was going to happen, I would have lost my damn mind. That Magic was up there dancing the go-go, doing a two-step. Like, I was, I was like, I cannot believe this is happening right now. This guy's one of us. Like, that was right away. My first thought was like, all right, like, yeah, I know you're a Lakers star. You own all these businesses. You part owner of the Dodgers and all of it. But I'm like, nah, you belong here. Like, you're all right with us. Like, I think that was my second major impression of him.
So I'll say this, like, and I'll say this from both perspectives. Like, yes, I was so excited to see how excited he was. But then you look at the other optics of it. We just call it spade a spade. You know, being a minority in the ownership room, which is something that the NFL has just, it just hasn't happened that way. Granted, he's not the main stake, but he has a seat at the table, and I think that's kind of what a lot of guys and gals are looking to do, is just have a seat at the table, be able to put their money up, just like other people have been able to, and just kind of be in those conversations. And I think with his business acumen, it's proof that literally everything he touches turn to gold. The Dodgers go and win a World Series. Of course, all the wins with the Lakers, and just his personability, where he's able to talk. He's magical, like he said. He'll be the guy that's community relations and be the guy that's talking and things like that. But the way he commands the room, the respect that he gets, not not too many people have too many coarse words to say about Magic. Magic is good in any hood. You know what I'm saying?
For real.
He can be in the boardroom. He can be in the backyard at the cookout. Like, it's nothing.
I was thinking that.
Yeah, Magic is good in any hood. So, like, just his vibe that that he's happy to be here, and it's something genuine, and it's something that we didn't see with previous ownership. That's kind of that press conference where all of them were there, right? They were doing their speeches, and it just was like, even Josh, like, he don't strike me as a guy that's like super excited. He's kind of a quiet guy. But even he was excited, like, and the buying the beer, like, at the bullpen, and that wasn't planned. Like, he just did it. Like, he was like, I think I can pony up. He said he had to go into the savings.
That I heard that was hilarious. That was hilarious. To hear a billionaire say, "Yeah, I might have to go into my savings."
Yeah, like, stuff like that. Like, and I think that's smart business would say that's the easiest way to get people on your side. Because it's and I hate this, and I don't want to say this, but like, you get them on your side so that when you have to make hard decisions, people will still support you and still understand where you're coming from, because it will feel like it's at the best interest of the team. Where Dan went wrong is that Dan would do stupid stuff and it would backfire on him, and he had no support from the fan base because he wasn't personable. You couldn't talk to him. You didn't see him at events. You couldn't dap him up. You didn't see him, out and about at community events. He may have done them. I haven't seen him, but you didn't have that level of, and I think it's the word, you couldn't touch him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, certain guys, you just feel like you can touch. Like, and that goes back to the good in any hood. Like, people come around, like Mike. I'll just use you as an example. Like, Mike is good in our hood. You know what I'm saying? Mike's
pretty much
us. But like, and this is a true example. Mike, when you came to the tailgate, right?
Of course. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Me and Mike hadn't met in person. Like, I told Mike, I was like, hey, come to the tailgate, we're hanging out. Mike came over, tried some food, had a beverage with us, and it was cool. We just hung out. Like, we can touch, like, we can talk, so that
pause.
I can now say, pause, please. Now I can say, now I can say that, Mike Callow's a good guy. Like, he's down for the cause. He's just a good guy to be around and talk to. He's not Colin Cowherd, where I feel like I couldn't go in. I feel like if I'm in a room with him, I'm like, why would I want to talk to you? You know what I mean? That's just example I use. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the personable aspect, and I feel like throughout the whole weekend, that's kind of what they've showed. And if that's a glimpse into how this ownership group will be as far as dealing with the fans and the fan experience, I think that'll do them some service, and it can go a long way.
Yeah, true indeed, man. True
I
indeed.
mean,
I mean, you really hit the nail on the head on that one, man.
and the same thing with like the fan experience thing. Like, if there's only one thing they can really change this year, they're gonna see what they can do at FedEx Field. And like, I'm hard pressed to bitch about FedEx Field. I know it's not the best stadium in the world, but as soon as the game starts, it's the same field as every other stadium in the NFL. So, okay, can you make concessions better? Can you make them a little cheaper? Maybe you can do that. Can you maybe make the parking situation more smooth? Like, I got the vibe from them that it's going to be opposite of Dan. It's the one thing that is not Dan's fault is FedEx Field, right? Like, he did not build that. That was Jack Kent Cook. It was rushed. Like, we've talked about it ad nauseum, right? But Dan didn't do a goddamn thing to fix that place. Didn't do anything to improve it. He acted like he didn't have the responsibility to do that. And now we've been here for what, 20, this will be like 27 years of FedEx Field, something like that. And like, right. And he never made any kind of improvement or tried anything to make things better. And I think Jason Wright in the last couple of years has made it look a little bit better, like added the food trucks, added some of the like graffiti around the stadium. Like, it's lipstick on a pig, but at least I can see you're trying, right? But
yeah.
Right. Yeah. And like, I get the vibe these guys, like within the first month, if they see something that's wrong, they're gonna go, you need to change that, you need to change that, you need to change that. And I've like every bit of faith that they're at least going to try to make the fan experience a little bit better. It just feels more authentic all around.
They already said they got $100 million invested, or $100 million to prepare to invest in the fan experience. So, whatever that entails, I think right now, and I'm being honest, I think they can do no wrong right now. I think they've done the will. They can do no wrong right now. Yeah. And to move back into D Mitty's point is that the key is going to be how we perform this year to determine what's going to happen at the end of the season. As a new owner, as a new CEO, as a new manager, you have responsibilities to keep your business viable. And if it hasn't gone to the point where you're winning, or where you're turning a profit, or where you're hitting your numbers, your team is, then you got to make some changes, right? So while I do love Ron Rivera, I think he has done a good job with helping change the culture and turn it over. I think it is integral that he has double-digit wins, make the playoffs. Sam Howell needs to perform out of his mind, and the team has to be a solid team for them to even entertain Ron Rivera and staff returning next year. And I just think I just don't want them to, because I feel like this is the only, because you don't get a chance to do this a lot of times. You don't really get a chance to really see the fruits of your labor come to fruition. And I think with the draft they've been having, with making changes on the coaching staff, with being able to re-sign key guys and entice some guys to come, I just think now that it's time. We need to see what this plan was going to be, because if it doesn't work now, it's not going to work. You know what I mean? So I definitely think they have to get double digits to even be considered to sticking around. Or Harris has told them something that we don't know, because he looked comfortable to me. He looked like he's ready to go, or he has some type of guarantees that he'll get to finish his contract out or whatever. I don't know, but I'm curious, and I'll start with you, Mike. What is going to have to happen for this regime to stay in place? Or do you even want to see this regime stay in place after this upcoming season?
All right, so let's be real here. Why did Ron Rivera get hired to come to this franchise? It was Dan bringing him in to change the culture, right? I would say he's done that. I would say mission accomplished, to be completely honest. Like, when I got the vibe when they hired him, this was very much we need a cleaner. We need someone to come in here and get. Yeah, I was gonna say Kenny Omega. I was gonna go full wrestling, but I was good. Like, that was the whole point, right? It was to come in here, get back to being respectable, because I think we all knew by the end of the 2019 season it was bad. Like, they got lucky that the Nats won the World Series and distracted everyone for 2 months, right? Like, they got really lucky that it wasn't as harsh as it could have been. But between that, damn good culture was that season too. Like it was really bad. And so, like Ron was never the greatest personnel guy. He didn't have good records in Carolina. Like he has been as advertised, to be completely honest, and he backed into the playoffs one season when everyone else was really bad, and he limped in with literally his fourth string quarterback, and like good on him. But like I look at Ron and I just look at it at kind of you've accomplished the mission, but it's not unlike, I don't know, like in the NBA where you have the same thing. You have the coach, and then you get the next coach to really put you over the edge, right? Like, is that the enemy? Is that another guy? But like that's the vibe I get from Ron. So I've always leaned towards no. I also look at what Harris talked about that opening presser. He straight up dropped analytics and sports science. Ron was anti-analytics the second he got here, and granted, he's softened now, but like you and I both know that's full old man yelling at cloud. Like that, like I remember when he tried to explain it the first time. He's like, "Yeah, but no one talks about the times you miss it." And I'm like, "Yeah, but everyone's gonna be fine if you miss it because we know the percentages." Like, so I get the vibe like they're gonna let Ron do his thing this year. And look at how Ron had like this. This goes into a bigger discussion of look at how Ron has the roster constructed this year, right? He's going with the fifth round pick at quarterback, right? And I know you like Sam more than anyone, but like realistically, he's going with a fifth round pick. He's got a new offensive coordinator, and then I keep pointing to this. Go look at the contracts on defense. He has Tez as a free agent. He has Chase now as a free agent. Cam Curl is a free agent. The two D tackles are getting paid. Nothing wrong with that. Every DB not named Forbes, though, I don't know where they fit into the long-term plan. Like, go look at all of those positions, and I have a feeling like it's going to go one way or the other. It's either going to powder keg and everyone sinks into the ground together, or they all go flying up because they have to play really hard. And so if you're Ron, it's your boom or bust on all of these guys outperforming what they normally do to be better than they normally are. And you're hoping, as I said to you before the show started, like the enemy, honestly, his task is easy. He needs to score one more touchdown a game. Like, that's it. That's all he's got to do. Like, when you look at the formula, it actually should work with Ron. Like, they should be in contention. But it's what do we see? What changes from the other years? Does he still start slow? Because they can't afford to start slow with the way the schedule works, right?
Schedule, no.
Is he going to know they could be eliminated from the freaking playoffs, when they lose to the Browns? Like, there's just a lot to be desired with Ron, and I see what he's doing to try to win this year, but I see the same mistakes and the same kind of, like, I don't want to call it a lack of effort because it's not, but just there's not enough there for me to warrant him being here another year unless they make the playoffs, I guess is what I'm getting at. And I think they're going to let him do it because if you're an owner and you come in and you change the coach this time of the year, you're crazy. It's Dan 2.0. We're all going to lose our minds. But, yeah, I'm leaning towards no. It's going to take a lot for him to actually come back is what my vibe is.
Fair. D-Mitty, what you think?
Most definitely, man, and to kind of start where you ended, man. And I was listening to another podcast, and one of the guys said that they see Ron possibly being ousted on the last 4 games of the season if the team is sitting at like 4-7 or something like that. They could possibly see Ron getting ousted, but I don't really see that happening unless it gets to a situation where like the whole season is like murky and Sam is bad, the defense is not showing top tier, and then then possibly. But at the same time, to hit on what you were saying earlier, contractually, to add on to that, think about the fact that we're going to have 15 more million, I believe it is, added to the cap next year, and they're already sitting at somewhere at about like 80 million. So think about it, we're going to be in a good position contractually next year.
I mean, I think I want Ron to stay because I don't want to lose EP. I wasn't one of the ones that have subscribed to the fact that they would get rid of Ron to keep EB. I think that if they get rid of Ron, they're gonna blow the whole thing up. Like, I think they're gonna blow it all up. And I guess it goes back to the main point that if they're good, then we'll keep the pieces. Like, we're gonna keep the guy. Or if they're good, we may not even had opportunity to keep EB because he might get a head coaching look. But it's just I just want us to be successful, man. I just feel like it's kind of like you're getting up to the top of that roller coaster, man, and it's getting ready, and you're getting to the top of the hill. You're gonna get there, and it's just like I just want to get to the top of the hill and go over and just enjoy some of my weeks in the fall. Like, I don't want to be sitting on the edge of my seat every week. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they have it where they can do some things.
Two things. One of them is, I think, to your point, D. Mitty, that if Ron is outed, you at least then get to see Bieniemy be head coach. Like, I do think that is a factor here. Like, I don't think they hired him with that intent, but I think everyone would be like, all right, let's see what he's got, as head coach and see what would happen there. The other thing that I don't think a lot of people are talking about is Ron got here too by saying to Dan, I want it all. I want the Belichick power. I want to pick the players. I want everyone to be underneath me in terms of the personnel guys, the coaches, everybody. He makes all of the decisions. Well, he's got a new owner now. Like, what if Josh says, we'll bring you back next year, but I'm bringing in a GM. I'm bringing a legitimate, new school, analytics-driven GM to do things this way. And Ron might not be for that. Like, Ron could go full old man and just be like, nah, like, I'm out on that. Because we know in every situation, it's a clash. Like, every time this happens in any organization. So I think it's the other thing is, like, Ron's going to have to concede power, too, if he wants to actually stick around after the season. And all signs, it's Magic 8 Ball, all signs point to no to me. That's what I just it all keeps adding to. Ron kind of has a little too much going on that a new owner has to come in and actually take some power away. It just doesn't add up for me.
Got you. And now I know we've been looking at what would happen if we don't. But guys, let me just be the first one to say it, right? What's today? July the 23rd. What if we go and win the freaking Super Bowl, bro? Like, what if we have a Bengals type season where maybe we don't win it, but we get to the dance? Like, what if we just get on a run?
Man, let me say this.
Sam
Let me just say this.
Outside of his mind. Like, what if we're just freaking good?
I was gonna go there, bro. I was gonna go there with you. You take this Washington Commanders team, and they win one playoff game. The fan base is out of their mind. DC is going to be on fire. Oh, we're going to the next round
last year, bro.
And then let's just say they win the wild card spot. You win that playoff game, week 1 of the wild card. Then you actually threaten to go to the NFC Championship game. Oh my God, it's a wrap, bro.
2 playoff games, bro. Like, think about that. Jacksonville was almost a game out of being in the NFC Championship. Like, it's really like that's the one thing I think I kind of love about football is that you're literally a couple plays away from like being boom or bust. Like, I saw a stat that was like Mahomes and Chiefs have won like a crazy amount of like 1-score games, like a ridiculous number. And you think if all those go the opposite way, Mahomes suck. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
No, I mean, to your point, that week 1 game, like, again, if they win, it's going to be good. But they should kill the Cardinals. Like,
40 points.
They should. Like, I don't know about 40 points, but like, give me 30. But like, they should kill them. Like, and to the point where the stadium's rocking in the 3rd, 4th quarter. Like, and that alone should tell the players, oh, like, these fans are back. And that should kind of start the momentum right there. But the problem is Ron starts slow every freaking year. Like, they barely pulled one out against the Jags last year, right? Like, I mean, so that's what I'm worried about. I'm hoping, though, that, like, right away these players see or, feel the energy. I think it's really probably more what it is. Because I don't want to – I never say no one tries hard. Like, that's always that's BS. Every guy tries as hard as he can, right? But, like, if they feel right away, oh, this is different, that's where you do go on a run. And, like, it's weird this year. I don't know if you've looked at the schedule close enough. Like, they're home every other week now. Like, there's like – it's like not really. I don't think they have 2 in a row at all, really. If
when I look at the schedule, season, I think
maybe, yeah, you might be right. But like for the most part, they flip flop, and like all I'm imagining is you leave with a win, you go on the road and you get a win, and all of a sudden you come back and like that next home game is going to be bonkers, right? Or maybe you win that home game, lose the away game, all good. Like people will still come out to support you. Like I look at it as they can flip the script on the energy around the team. Literally 1 week into the season.
100%. because I'm gonna be there against the Cardinals. Then I'm flying to Denver, and I'll be in Denver week 2. You know what I'm saying? And I would love to come back week 3 against Buffalo. You
Right.
definitely want to have 2 wins up coming back to play Buffalo at home. You know what I'm
You
saying?
hope.
So like, yeah, you would hope so. But it's like you gotta, and I think I was talking to my cousin earlier today, and he was like, D, we gotta win the games we're supposed to win. Now, granted, that's not a thing, right? But they say on paper, if a team is better than this team, you should win that game. Like that's a game you should win. So like those games where we have those, like the Cardinals game for me is a must. If you come out stinking in the Cardinals game or starting slow, it's gonna be a long season because everything is on the wall right now that you should smoke the Cardinals. And even if you're not playing that well on offense, your defense should play absolutely well against the Cardinals this year. So it's like every game that you have the opportunity, you really gotta lean into it and be the best team on the field, man. Every week.
No, for sure.
Yeah, and so like that goes back to the point, and I don't know where D Mitty is, so maybe he'll be back soon. But he's moving. But I mean, I just think that it's important that we really like everything has to hit this year. Like, and it's almost just like, you got to have one of those games like in basketball where you just got to make shots. Like even if you start slow, you still got to keep shooting. Like, and then they need a Kobe game where like you can't miss and score 81. You know what I'm saying? Like you need those types of games. And I think, you've seen it historically in the past with the NFL. The NFL is really funny like that. Like you'll have, teams go on runs where, they're playing outside of their mind. Oh, just perfect example. Because I know you watched Quarterback on Netflix. Just to see Kirk Cousins and how they responded in that playoff game. Or not playoff game, against the game against the Colts. Yeah. Down 30 at halftime.
Right.
Against the 1-win Colts that just hired Jeff Saturday. Like, and they, because I was looking at that, I was like, bro, somebody's point shaving. Somebody has a back end, and there, I promise you. And then for them to come back and just like you said, you just need 5 touchdowns. I think that's what somebody said. So you just need 5. You know what I mean? Like, and just really just keep plugging away. And it's like the NFL is weird like that. You have a week like that where who knows what can happen. You just got to show up and play because you can score. Yeah. If you can score in bunches, you never know what can happen.
No, 100%. And I think the other thing that has to happen here, like, I think Ron could stick around even if they're competitive all the way till the end. But like, let's say Forbes is really good this year. All of a sudden, you're thinking, okay, like you're hitting on your personnel again, where you made 2 good first-round draft picks in a row this time around. Like, I think that's another part of this is like if Ron can demonstrate his personnel is straight, that helps him. But like you and I both know that like Ron's personnel, when it comes down to it, is 50-50. It's a coin flip, it seems, for every move he makes. But if that works out, the defense should be way better. And all of a sudden, yeah, you're beating the teams you should beat because you're getting plays from guys like Forbes or whoever else. Like that energy, if it keeps up, yes, they should be able to take advantage of the teams that are good. I will push back a little bit on the Broncos. Yeah, they were bad last year. I just don't know what Peyton's going to bring to the table. So like that week 2, it really is a toss-up for me. And Denver's always a tough place to play. Like they play ugly up there. The Washington does. Like seems like every game they play there is just not like a fun watch. So for your 2-0 thing, I'm gonna just be wishy-washy on that. But 1-1, bare minimum when they play the Bills.
Regardless, whether we win or lose in Denver, I'll be having a spectacular time. I'll just say that. D Mitty, real quick, man, before we wrap it up, man. What are your thoughts initially coming out of this sale? What is something that you want to see personally with a new ownership group? What is something that you want to see happen for the fans or for the team?
We already touched on it, man. I want to see changes at FedEx. I want to see the fan experience a little bit more better. Like I love the start of them opening up training camp to the fans and having appreciation day. That's dope. I'm with stuff like that and doing more things as far as like marketing the tickets. Because to be perfectly honest, as fans out here that I can speak for, I'm probably in that fan base that's like trying to buy season tickets, and buying tickets is kind of hard for certain fans. So opening up, bridging the gap in the olive branch to the fans that would like to come but just need that extra to get to the stadium or what have you. And that's one thing. But then also, man, just just putting that winning product on the field, man. Listening to y'all talk about those first 3 games, man. I'm excited, man. I wish week 1 was tomorrow. Next week. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. Mike, I know you touched on it as well, but is there anything specific that you're looking for from this ownership group to maybe bring to the table to kind of help us get over the hump?
So I got one that I tweet about fairly often and I bring up on the air often. They used to run the shuttles from the Landover Metro and a couple of the other Metro stops when FedEx first opened. And I heard this, I think Brian, like B. Mitch, talked about this on his show when I used to work with him at 980. And those shuttle buses used to be free. Like if you just took the Metro, you could go. Then they tried to sponsor them. I think they got them sponsored. They lost the sponsorship and then stopped running them. And like something little like that makes it so you don't have to pay for parking and you can make it a little bit easier to bring your family or whatever. Like I'm talking about those types of things that opens it up for more people, makes it easier. Like not everyone has a car in this region. It's just how it is, right? Especially if you live in the city. Like if some people make that decision to just not have a car. Like little things like that maybe it doesn't make your bottom line the best, but at least extends that olive branch, as D just said, to say to the fans, like, hey, we're trying to open it up to a little bit more here. We want to make it easier for you. Like we know in September it's going to be 95 when you're walking that mile from the Metro. Like we can make this easier for you. Like just those little things that, once again, as I said, Dan didn't feel like he had the responsibility to do. Overextend yourself a little bit. Like I even said this, like week 1, they're not going to listen to me on this one, but like waive parking if you're there at 8 a.m. or something. You know what I mean? Like if you get there ass early, like we care about you and we'll let you park for free and start tailgating early. Like, simple things like that is just more of what I want this team to kind of try to think about. That I know they want to make money because it's an NFL team and you got profits to worry about, but like there are little things like that I think you can do that'll help the fans. One other thing too that I'll jump into, because I went to the Packers game 2 seasons ago at Green Bay, right? And we're in line and it's taking forever to get in, old stadium, whatever, but having a good time. And someone literally is like, oh, I wonder what the giveaway is today. And I was like, giveaway? And they were like, yeah, we get a giveaway every game here. I was like, what do you mean you get a giveaway every game? I'm like, what? You get like, the stupid like signs that you stretch or whatever, like whatever. And they're like, no. Oh, it's sunglasses this game. So they got shades. Like, oh yeah, we get sunglasses or blankets or hats or like, and I'm like, this is a franchise that's been good my entire life essentially. And they still care about the fans that way. Granted, they're publicly owned, so it's a little different, but I'm kind of like, start doing some little things like that. That'll really like, those are the things you remember too when you're 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. Like you get that thing and you're like, oh, this is my team. Like I got this. Like things like that are just really simple. You can get them sponsored and will make things a little more memorable at a stadium that's honestly really forgettable.
Absolutely. And as we step into the last segment, I'll just give you my answer. Here's one thing that I don't want them to do, and that is change the name. Now, I'll say this, and we'll say this, and we'll get out of here. But there's been clamoring for the past 3 to 4 days about, that should be the first thing that they should do. You have it from the individuals who want them to go back to Redskins. You have them from the individuals that just hate Commanders. You have from individuals that blame Dan for the Commanders' name. You have the Red Wolves contingency that if it's not Red Wolves, it's nothing. You have the Washington football team contingency that it was good because it was different. And then you have people like me who fully embrace the name Commanders. I took one day on February the 2nd to be like, Commanders. And now over a year later, I have so much freaking gear in my closet that once every 2 weeks, Fanatics is dropping something off at my house. I have a section right next to my golf section in my closet. I have a Commander section. That's it's my burgundy, it's my gold, it's my white, my gray, and then my black stuff, and then all my golf polos. But like I fully embrace the name Commanders. I'm locked in. As you can see, I got the Commanders yacht hat. You know what I'm saying? And then I got the workout piece. Like we here. You know what I mean? So because if we change it, somebody got to cut me a check, bro, for real. But I'm one of those guys that I've just embraced it. I've embraced the new uniforms. I've embraced the change. It felt new and fresh for me, even if the name was kind of corny. But Mama Commander, I mean, his mama said call him Mama Commander. You know what I'm saying? And media people have been bringing it up. Well, it's almost a given that they're going to change the name. Really? How do you know? Did they tell you? I should hit with me. You sure about that? You sure about that? Like, how do you know? Okay, so I'll say that, and I'll let y'all finish off on that. But this name change, is possible rebrand. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it should happen? Should it not happen? Like, give me your feelings on it. D-Media, I'll start with you, man.
Man, it can be the Washington, like anything. It could be Washington, and I'm good. Like, It's about winning on the field, man. I think a lot of people are putting too much on a moniker. That moniker doesn't help you win on the field, man. I mean, I've heard people, I've heard the Washington football team, people that are with that Washington football moniker, and I've heard people that are with I haven't heard anybody actually say they're with the Commanders, but the people that want to go back to the Redskins,
that ain't happening.
Not going down that rabbit hole as to why it changed. I will say this is the only inkling of hope I give you guys that are listening to this podcast that want to go at the Redskins. The only way that they do it is those big wigs and those billion-dollar companies change face, and that may not even happen.
I agree. Mike, what you think?
To the Redskins point, yeah, you can't put that toothpaste back in the tube. Like, it's just, you can't. If you want to go Warriors or something like that, you can try, but I don't think you're getting any of that imagery back. But when it comes to the name stuff, I'm kind of with you guys. I think we're all on the same page here. They could be the Washington whatever, and I'm still rooting for them because they're from DC. Like, and I don't care what the name is that much that I would stop rooting for them. That's where I kind of draw the line of the people that say, "Oh, if they don't go back to Redskins, I'm never rooting for them." Well, how big of a fan were you at that point then, right? Like, miss me with that essentially. And so, but I do understand why the fan base right now is being loud about it. Just to say, if this is on the table, we want you to do it. And so I understand where the fans are coming from to say, this is your first few days. You can't really fire Ron. You can't really fire Jason. You can't clear the front office. You can start thinking about a new name, though, if that's something you actually want to do. So I understand it from that standpoint. I understand it from the other standpoint of, do you want to get rid of everything Dan ever did? I totally get it from that point, too. But I would just say, if they decide to keep it and then you're not going to be a fan anymore, or you don't like the new name that they pick, like, be careful what you wish for. Like, that's why I'm very much like, I don't really care. I will say I'd like to try something else, because my number one thing is this too. It's not everything that's in a name, but sometimes it is how you grasp a concept for a name. The names Capitals and Nationals are terrible names for sports franchises, but they're the Caps and they're the Nats. Wizards are the Wiz. Like, Wizards have always been bad too, so that one I don't really do. But the first two I think does ring true. Like, the Commanders don't have a fun, like, nickname we can call them that you can kind of give them a hug to, is what I call it. Like, I'm gonna go watch the Caps game. Go watch the Nats game. I have to go watch the Commanders game. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't sound major, but to me, it's like, if you can't even put slang behind your new nickname or shorten it, how much thought did you put into it? And so I understand it. But I'm with you. Like, if they switch the names again, I'll still buy all the gear. I have 3 Commanders jerseys I bought this year. I bought hats. I bought everything. Like, but, I guess I'm fine either way. I understand why fans are doing it, but I also know that if all of a sudden they just decide to keep it, who's going to be shocked? The other part too, by the way, is like, Jason Wright's still on the, still getting a paycheck, right? Like, he spearheaded the rebrand. If they change everything, that man's gone. Like, there's the most important thing you did, and the fans hate it. And if the fans hate it enough that they change it, he's going to be fired too. So, like, that's another ramification that comes with all of this that is just messy right away, essentially.
I'll say this, and we'll close it up with this. I urge the fans to just be careful what you ask for, because while Josh Harris is he's a lifelong fan, been in the area. What if he wakes up and decides he wants to change the color scheme? What if he says, I want to change everything? These people will lose their minds. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm just like, you know what? Let's just let him cook. The name has only been in place for, not even 2 years. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna tell you, if this is December and we're at the top of the NFC East, or if we get into the playoffs and win a game, nobody cares. You will not care. You will gladly mention all the syllables in Commanders to say you're going to the Washington Commanders game to see them win a home playoff game. You know what I mean? Nobody will care. Nobody will care. And I always challenge. I've been bookmarking tweets. I promise you I have. Because when we start winning, I don't want to hear you be like, "Oh, I knew he was going to be good." No, you want him to stay the Redskins. No, you want him to change the name because it's going to no. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever the key is winning. And at the end of the day, that's what it's always been. That's what it's always been. So I feel like if the team can somehow find a way to get out of their own way and win in a possible situation where I think they can this year, I think they have the ability to do so. If they can do that, I think it'll be fine. And everything will go away. Everything will get washed away. That'll be your team. That'll be your baby. You know, they'll be defending the name like I defended. You know, they'll be defending Sam Howell like I'll defend Sam Howell. You know, and just give, and that's same thing I'm saying. Just give them an opportunity. Let them give it an opportunity to succeed. Not necessarily give it an opportunity to fail, but just give it a chance. Just give it a chance, because we can't change names every 2 years. That's just not gonna happen. Okay, that's just not.
Is it true? I don't know if you guys know this or heard this, but it was on Dan Patrick's show. His co-host said something about it's actually in the rule that you're not supposed to.
5 years.
Okay, so you know where I'm going with it.
But
let's be real. They can push this if they wanted to. Like, Harris would be able to say, "I just bought this team, run this up the flagpole." So I think that's yeah, right. Like, they would be able to do it if they wanted to. Just like they can't change uniforms for like 3 years or something.
Yeah.
Harris would be able to just be like, "No, let me do what I want." The other factor on this too, and Bram and I talked about this on Friday, because Bram feels like, because they didn't give it a ringing endorsement, because they just said we're focusing on other things, he thinks the door is open for a change. And we kind of talked it out, so it wasn't totally his view, but our view, maybe talking it out, was they could just say, we're not going to be the Commanders after this year, go to football team next year, and when we decide, or when we go to a new stadium, that's when we get the new name. And that's also, be careful what you wish for, because we heard so many people bitch about, "Oh, they should have had a name ready to go like a month later." We all know realistically that's not going to happen, but they could leave it open-ended, and then all of a sudden you don't know what you're going to be or when it's going to drop, and then you're dealing with football team for however many years you're going to deal with that. Like, once again, be careful what you wish for, because if you don't decide on something, it just leaves it in limbo, which could be worse, honestly.
Winning will cure all, and I'm going to save all my new wrestling impressions for later this season. So get wild. Let's get wild, because trust me, week 1, let's get wild. Ooh, it's going to go wild, man. But I want to thank our guest, Mike Callow, for joining us. Mike, we appreciate you for being in the mix, man. Starting off season 2 with a bang. Of course, Mike, tell everybody where they can follow you, listen to you, book you for a gig. Like, where can they go, Mike?
Just hit my Twitter, @Mike_Callow. Same thing on Instagram if you want to get at me there. Listen to me on ESPN 630. I am the producer of the Bram Weinstein Show. Bram, of course, the voice of the team. If you don't normally listen to us, we're on 3 to 6 every day, ESPN 630 AM. If you don't have AM in your car, or you are outside of the city, or just want a clearer signal, download our app. That's how you can listen to us anywhere. That's what I recommend. And we're coming up on football season, and you guys already know, if you listen to Bram on Friday, his breakdown of what is about to happen on Sunday is like none other. He can tell you pretty much what's about to happen, and he usually has a very good vibe for what is about to happen on Sunday. So highly recommend that if you pick one day to listen to us, Fridays before we play, that is the time to listen. You'll get insight unlike any other.
Hey, man, of course, Mike, we appreciate it. I'm going to have to get both of y'all on the show, man. Let's see if we can.
Good luck with that.
I know, right?
I'll pay for that. I'll pay for that.
Look, I had to pull out.
Bram, ask Bram, do I need to go into my savings?
And buy him some beer, right? Like everybody. Hey, man, look. And Mike, before we get out of here, man, I'm going to try to do that outro Bram do. And I promise you, I was like, man, I don't know if Bram is doing this on purpose, But when he said, "It's been 636 sports camera," and he get out, like, I was like, "Yo, is he doing that on purpose?" I think I meant to text you, ask you, like, "Is he doing that on purpose?"
He does it because he breaks so freaking late that I'm telling him to break. So yeah,
You're like, "Come on, man, come on, let's get out of there."
I'm literally going.
It's been 636 sports camera.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I'm hearing the Michael and Sons commercial after that joint. Like,
yeah. Right. Exactly.
Hey, but everybody, we appreciate you for tuning in to Breaking Command, a DND football podcast, of course. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share with a friend. If you feel so inclined to leave us a 5-star review, you get your 5 seconds of fame. Of course, we want to thank Mike Callow for joining in for this first episode. It's going to be a long season, guys. Hopefully, it's a good long season. But regardless, come here every week for your best news and notes on your Washington Commanders, and we'll talk about it. So, for my partner in crime, D. Mitty, for our special guest, Mike Callow, we will catch you on the next episode of Breaking Command, a DND football podcast. Peace and love, everybody.